We can never do this during the song because of some copyright issues or something. It's gonna mess up on me. So, all right, we're just waiting for this to set up on live streaming with YouTube. Come on in, gang. Lots of people right here in the front. We're just waiting for people to join us as well. We can never do this during this. And it looks like it's going. All right, all systems are go. And right now we're going to hit the record button. Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. All right. Welcome to DayTradeSPY.com's Week-In Review, Intro to Trading, whatever you want to call it. And my name is Hugh. You probably gathered that. And it is actually Sunday, July the 13th, 2025. All right, and please use the questions box for any questions or comments you might have. All right, yes, I'm not really dressed up here tonight. Okay, it's summertime, right? I'm actually got shorts on, and it's gonna go out, hang out by the beach later on after this the show here, see what's going on out there. Got some friends out there waiting for me, so just as well that I'm here with you guys because I think they're getting into the libations here. I don't want to do that. No, that's not me. So, all right. Howard, Howard says, I'm less photogenic than you, and I have more crowns than you and Prince George. Oh, Prince Charles. Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys the other day. I was eating potato chips and one of my molars fell out. How does that happen? But anyway, I went to the dentist the other day. Man, this is the worst, the worst. So they're gonna put in any. I'm not getting into gory details. They're gonna put in a what do you call it? Implant, an implant, and he was sewing something up in there. I don't know what he was doing. He put some stitches. I'm not sure if he put it in my gums or my tongue. Oh man, did it ever hurt? Ooh. Anyway, let's move along, folks. The price you pay for getting old, right? All right, I'm going to give you a few seconds to read this. I think you all know how to read. I think you know what all this means. You alone are responsible for all your own trading. Past performance does not guarantee future results. I'm pretty sure you understand all of that. All right, let's get back to the session. Here's what we're going to talk about here tonight, folks. Gonna take a look at last week, see what happened, do a little bit of a poll, just a little bit of interaction here. Going to talk about the upcoming week. Got a little 2-minute tutorial. You're going to love this one. This one tonight is going to be worth the admission. And then some. Trust me, I put a lot of work into this one here. I'm going to do a talk about ramping up your trading. Yes, it's the pitch, but you got to be given the pitch because there's still, believe it or not, two or three people online who are not subscribing to anything we do. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Hmm. You know who you are, and I'm going to start asking you for excuses, right? And then we're going to do a little Q&A. Any questions? I got a little contest for you. Anybody can win this contest. You don't have to be very smart. I have to just pick a number 1 to 10. We'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, what do we do here? I'll tell you who I am. Early years, deep in the trenches. That's where I learned all of what I teach here. Yes, I took a lot of courses in this. Most of what taught me not to do. I got a few good things out of these things, but um, they weren't really. There were some good ones, I think, but most of them were. I had to dismiss most of the material that came my way. But anyway, I did discover some cool strategies when I realized just what worked for me, and it might not work for you, but it worked very well for me, and it worked for a lot of other people because they coerced me into teaching them what I do. And that was back in 2010. We started teaching people. Been teaching people around the world now since 2010. So what is this now? We are now in our 16th year. That was actually in May 2010. So this puts us in our 16th year of doing this. That's pretty exciting. When we started this, we never had any intention of actually doing this. It all fell into place by accident. This is an accidental career. Okay. We were never supposed to do this. In fact, when we first started doing our trading, oh my gosh, I don't even want to go back and view some of those old recordings. We were so green and just kind of stumbling over ourselves. And Anyway, looking at short-term breakout trades. That's what I like to do. All right, make a little bit of money, sell, take what the market gives me, then move on to the next trade, and the next trade, and the next trade. And hopefully by 11, 12 o'clock, I got a nice few trades in my basket, and off I go to the bank. That's kind of what I like to do. And believe me, it works very, very well. So, all right, let's take a look and see what happens here. Spy on the Market. This is our free newsletter. We publish this every week. Actually, I write it. Yeah, I put John's name on there too. Not a problem, but I write this thing. And this week's topic is going to be the Trump-Powell feud. Talk a little bit about the Trump-Powell feud and what it means and what it's going to mean to the market. Now, it is a developing story, and I'm going to be honest, by the time you get this article, it might even be outdated. We'll see what happens. Uh, but I hope to get an updated version for you by then. So these articles are released every Thursday. All right. If you are not yet a subscriber, all you have to do is go to our website, daytradespy.com. All right. And when the little pop-up comes up at the top there, just leave us your email address and you're going to get that. Okay. And it's actually pretty good. It's just a very short read, but I think you're going to find it entertaining. We talk about a lot of different things in there too. So anyway, the Trump-Powell feud. All right, here's what happened last week, folks. Let's expand this chart. Take a look here. On Monday, normal reversal off Thursday's record high. Friday, of course, was July the 4th, and that was a holiday, but it was fueled by fresh tariff uncertainty and Musk's launch of a new political party, the America Party. We'll see what happens there. We did a couple wins, couple losses on Monday, and coming in off the long weekend, had to get the rust remover out. But we geared up here for some more gains during the week. So after promising pre-market rises on Tuesday, SPY did pull back, closing lower as Trump extended tariffs deadline and trade uncertainty persisted. However, we chalked up four wins on Tuesday. Wednesday, Nvidia became a $4 trillion company, leading the tech sector in the S&P to a record high. If Nvidia were a country, and if you measured it according to gross domestic product GDP, Nvidia would be, I think, the fifth biggest country in the world. I think beating out the US, China, Japan, and Germany. I'm pretty sure that's what it would be. So that's huge, huge. We had five wins, couple losses on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, strong Delta Airlines earnings boosted airline stocks, sending SPY to yet another record high. We ended up at 626 87 on Thursday afternoon right there. Day trade SPY, we chalked up 10 wins, one loss, and on Friday, SPY closed out the week a little bit lower after Trump threatened Canada with 35% tariffs. On and off and on and off tariffs to Canada. I think he's just spinning heads is what he's doing. John and I chalked up seven wins on Friday. It was kind of a mixed bag for us. We had a little too many. We had too many losses that I care to talk about. But actually, in reality, those are not all losses. What we had to do was, for the sake of the presentations and the record keeping, we have to close out our trades by the end of the day. However, most of these losses in the trading, we discussed them, and we discussed how we would likely stay overnight in these trades. And those of you who stayed overnight did very well, from what I understand, because the next day it did come back into your favor. And I know that some people chimed in with some really, really great profits because they did hold on. Okay, so, but anyway, that's just for the record. All right, from a seasonal standpoint, here we go. Of course, you know how this works. Blue line. All right, blue line is, let's go back a little bit here. Let's go back. Oh, I think I missed that. The blue line is the where SPY is now. The red line is a composite of the last 5 years closing price. All right, closing price. Actually, let me just do this here. Give me a half a second while um, okay, send it to the back. You send it backwards. Yes, I just want to show this properly. Okay. And bear with me while I just fix my PowerPoint on this one here so that we have a record of it. There we go. Let's go back now. There we go. Blue line where SPY is right now, and the average of the last 5 years daily closing price is the red line. You can see that we've been running up here. And again, historically, we've actually risen about 4 points from last week, and historically, again, we might see a 3 point rise the following week. We are on an upswing here from a seasonal standpoint. Well, what's happened last week here? Equities hover near record highs, fueled by energy and industrials, despite tariffs returning to the forefront. New tariffs were announced on more than 20 countries. The 90-day pause extended to August the 1st. Does it even get any attention that it did like at the beginning? It's just it's almost I don't want to say too much like rhetoric. Is it on? Is it off? How much is it? I think what Trump's trying to do is get everybody to the table to negotiate and reestablish these tariffs. Um, but it's creating a lot of mistrust in the U.S. in that we don't know what he's going to do. So a lot of countries, I think, are looking for other markets for their goods and services and whatnot. One big beautiful bill act was passed July the 4th, extending provisions of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 when Trump was president back then. Bill also introduced new tax breaks and spending cuts. If you are, I believe, working overtime and tips, you're not going to get taxed. That's cool. That makes me want to go be a waiter. Give me lots of hours. I want to be a waiter. All right, the economy is slowing, but expect a re-acceleration next year and the year after, backed by tailwinds of fiscal stimulus, monetary policy easing, and deregulation. That is what the analysts are predicting here for the coming little while here. And here's a chart of the proposed tariff rates. It's changing all the time. And this actually compares it to April. The blue is April, the gold is now July, and you can see some countries have really, like 10% for Brazil back in April. Now, oh, we're up to 50% for Brazil. So I don't know what happened there. And it's been pretty steady for most countries. Canada got hit from a 25% to a 35% tariff. I think Trump wants to hurry up the negotiations there with Canada. Um, Cambodia had almost 50% in April. Now they're down to about I don't know 30 some percent. We get a lot of imports from Cambodia, right? Okay, we'll see. We'll see what next week's gonna bring. Personally, I think there's a lot of toying with the market, but that's just my humble opinion. S&P down this week 0.3%, but year to date we're still riding a nice 6.4%. Which if extrapolated, this continues into the end of the year, still be looking around what 13% or whatever, 12, 13%. If it continues that way. Dow Jones Industrial and the Nasdaq are both down as well. Year to date, Dow Jones is up 4.3. The Nasdaq up 6.6. The tech heavy Nasdaq is up 6.6, probably fueled mostly by Nvidia. All right, now I'm going to do this here. This is a bit of a poll here. We're going to be a little bit different here now. In fact, I'm going to give you a minute or so to reply to this. Put it in the questions box. If you had 5 minutes with President Trump and he would seriously listen to what you had to say or recommend, what would you say to him? What would you say to him? Well, I'm going to give you a minute or two to reply to that. And while we're waiting for that, I'm just going to go over some of the questions here. Punch up in the questions box. Just really curious here. Okay. Question from Bentley here. If we get in a trade at 9:30, how long should we stay in it? I like to stay until I get my profit and then I have to get out of it. There's no set time. It's not like it's a timed thing here. So I like to get in, wait for my profit, then I get out of it. Hopefully it's just a couple of minutes. Sometimes I've been in a trade for just as short as 15, 20 seconds. If it's going in my way, once I get my profit, I'm out. I'll wait for the next setup. Don't get greedy. Here's the problem. When you're in a trade and it starts going your way, you start pushing the envelope. You start pushing your sell price further and further out. And eventually it is going to reverse. As sure as you and I are sitting here, the market will reverse. Now you're going to start saying, "Oh, wait a second. Now you're taking my profits. Now you're going to start going down after it." Or you're going to wait until it goes back down. I don't know how many people end up selling. This is what happens to a lot of people. They're in a huge profit, but they still end up selling for a loss because simply they got greedy. And I was probably the most guilty of that. Okay. What's the best source of news to look for the day? Oh, I get my news from various sources. Okay, I get my news from various sources. Um, where do I get my news? Wall Street Journal. I will look at this is briefing.com, Market Watch. I get yes, even the mainstream CNN, Fox. I get those things. I try and get a balanced view of those. Wall Street Journal is a really good one. I really like that one here. Bloomberg, forexfactory.com. I get it from from tweets. Sorry, X. I subscribe to various Twitter feeds, and I try and get a balanced view on all this. And I don't know what other feeds come through my portal here, but I'm looking at a lot of different things here. So that's kind of where I get my news from here. Good evening from St. Louis. Big shout out to everybody in okay, and down in the south there, Florida. Okay, a lot of people from Florida tonight. Okay. By the time I read the article about Powell, he'll hopefully be fired. Okay, why? How do you really feel, Howard? Okay. All right, Alexander. I subscribe to DayTradeSPY Signal, one trade a day. What's the difference with DayTradeSPY Signal? All right, I'll talk about that in a few minutes, okay? The difference between the DayTradeSPY Signal and the pick of the day, which is, I think, what you're probably referring to there, Alexander. All right, they're both excellent services, hovering around 90% success. Okay. All right, question, how do you plot seasonality on the chart? Okay, I don't have that chart set up. There is, let's just go back. Let's see if I can pull that. I'm going to go back for a second here to the seasonality here. Um, okay, you know what? We're going to take that up in, I don't have the program pulled up on that one. So there is a spot up at the top. I don't remember exactly where it is here. Maybe I can just pull it up while we're waiting for you to pull in your comments here. Just give me half a second and I'm going to pull up the program and give you that information because I want to give you that information. That's a good question. How do you plot the seasonality on the charts? So bear with me while I get back to the question here. I'm just waiting for everybody to reply to this questions box. I'm going to get to the answers. Okay. All right, logging in now. It wants my login ID. Now it wants my password. Okay, and then I'm gonna get. Now I'll show you how to plot the seasonals. We'll do that later in the Q&A session. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's get to some of the questions here. All right. Okay. So all right. All right, we'll get to let's do the seasonality first, and then I'll get to the questions. Okay, just to kill some time on this one here. So, any questions? Or sorry, any comments about what you would say to Trump if you had 5 minutes with the guy and he seriously listened to you? All right, now the question here is, I want to get to this before we jump into that one. How do you plot the seasonality? Go up here to Style. All right, click on Style. Go down. This is on Thinkorswim. Schwab Thinkorswim. Go down to Chart Mode. And just pop over here to from standard, go down to seasonality. This gives you the seasonality. All right. And it's a daily chart. Okay. It doesn't give you hour to hour, minute by minute. It's a daily chart. And then after when you're done, go back to style, chart mode, change your chart mode from seasonality back to standard. And there you have it. Okay. There you go. All right. Let's get to your question. Okay. The answers. I like this one. You be clear and open about Epstein. Get debt under control. Please release all information on Epstein. Yeah. Hey, how do you guys feel about that? All of a sudden, Pam Bondi is, oh no, there's nothing on Epstein. When not too long ago, she had a truckload of information on it. She's going to release it all. Everything's going on. Okay, I'd ask him to replace Pam and get ahead of the whole Epstein. But wow, this Epstein is making quite the stir with President Trump here. Mr. President, please make Mr. Hugh an advisor. Oh my gosh, thanks for that, Matt. I appreciate that. Well, okay, listen to people who tell you things you may want to hear. Listen to people who tell you things you may not want to hear. That's interesting because, he only has it seems to me, anyways, just my opinion. Seems to me he only has advisors he kind of, sides with, people that side with him. Um, Back off on the tariffs, lower interest rate, but now not what's now lower interest rates now, but slowly. Here's another one here. Remove Powell ASAP. Scott says, I will try and teach him about tariffs and explain that the end user pays in most cases, just like Mexico never paid for the wall. Reduce the debt. Work harder on reducing the debt. Good job on getting rid of the illegals. All they do is sponge off the government, making American taxpayer foot the bill. Mr. Trump probably going to lower the large deficit. I think what he's trying to do there is, and I don't know, I can't get into his brain, but I think he's trying to really encourage business to come to America through volume, volume of taxes paid, get the deficit. Although he's never really, I never heard him, let's put it this way, I never heard him talking about that. But it's just the only thing I could think of that he's thinking. But Suresh is saying, you're on the right track, Mr. President. Please continue, even though many oppose your ideas. Good luck. I'd remind him that he is merely an employee hired by the voting public. Another one from Bobby. Bobby, good to have you on. Bobby, haven't heard from you in a while. Say hi to John for me. Keep doing what you're doing. All right. Like President Lincoln, go see a play. Oh, that's not a good idea. Oh, jeez. Didn't Lincoln get shot in a theater? Mr. Trump, you're willing to truly start to reduce government spending so that inflation does not run higher as tariffs go into effect. Thank you for the great job you're doing. Please be mindful of the reaction to your changing timeliness for the tariffs as it affects the markets. Draw your line in the sand and stick to it. It'll improve your credibility and stabilize the markets. Yeah, it's turning into a credibility issue, isn't it? On and off and on. And it's like, oh my God. Okay, let's see. What makes a billionaire like you want to be president since you could be retired? Also, what really happened to Stormy Daniels and Gene Carroll? Oh, this smut. All right, let's see. Let's see what other. I would talk to Trump about the U.S. debt because we need something to do about it and talk to him about defeating the deep state Washington. Bondi, just one of dozens of bootlicking, butt smooching psychopath. Okay. Philip says, I would tell him to fire Powell today. Okay. Uh, okay. Yeah, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories regarding Epstein. But anyway, we'll see. There's one comment that came that's actually very good, which I really like. It's my favorite. It would be to execute, and I'm trying to find it here, an executive order to have uh, all kids, starting in grade one, learn economics, microeconomics, macroeconomics. You must go through school and learn about economics so you know what's going on from an economic standpoint. That's important, not just personally, but through the whole thing and knowing what makes what makes economies tick, right? I like that idea. That's the one I'm going to vote for the winner on that one here. So, week ahead, folks. Low no news Monday. CPI. We got some inflation numbers. CPI coming up on Tuesday. Empire State Manufacturing Index, Producer Price Index (PPI) on Wednesday. Thursday, our usual unemployment claims, retail sales, and the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index. And on Friday, we've got University of Michigan consumer sentiment and also inflation expectations on Friday. From a volatility standpoint, low on Monday, high on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and back down to medium on Friday. All right. That's kind of the way that one works. All right. So, all right, moving on. I think we're going to finish before the hour is up this evening here. Just kind of moving along here. By the way, expect volatility to be elevated whenever President Trump speaks. I think that's a given, and we don't generally know that until pretty much the same day. Usually they schedule that when he wants to say something. So whenever he does talk, it's the volatility jumps. There's definitely he definitely moves the markets. Him and Powell, they both move the markets. All right, so we have this project here where we're turning 5,000 to 50,000 one year. And this is where we sit. We currently have a surplus of $544. We are now at almost $38,000 into the good on that one. So we're what are we at? About 12, 13,000 away from our goal of 50,000. Certainly not going to stop there. I'm going to shoot for 80, maybe even $100,000 as we continue on our quest and hopefully get to 50,000 sooner rather than later. I'm thinking here maybe even by the end of the summer. Right now we are at the point so for those of you who are new, we started this in January the 3rd, I believe it was. We started with $5,000 and the gentleman that I'm actually working with on this one here, he has the ability to go in and out multiple times a day. Once in a while we do trade, a second trade that same day. But he does have more than 25,000 in his account, but start with 5,000. He's only trading his profits up, and now we're at the trading the $8,000 a trade, and we're only shooting for a daily profit target of $320. So according to this model, we are currently $544 to the good, and which is kind of nice, right? Puts us in a nice spot. All right, now here's the 2-minute tutorial. And we're going to talk about inflationary. You know what? I brought the blinds up, but now you can't see me, so I'm going to have to bring the blinds back down again. Maybe the fact you can't see me is not a bad thing, right? But I think some people might want to see that I'm actually looking at you. Looking at you. All right. There, that's better. Okay. So the background light blacks me out. So anyway, all right. So we're going to talk about inflationary indicators, and I did a study on these, and quite an extensive study. I stopped the study after a while and it's kind of moved it forward. But I want you to understand if you look at the inflationary figures, and you can get those from forexfactory.com, which is a free site. In fact, I'm going to show you how to find that. Let me get into that forexfactory.com. This stuff I tell you is solid gold, solid gold here. I'll tell you. So here's the website, all right? Well, so so you just punch up the dates here, and let's say today. Okay, here we go. Okay, all right. Let's see. Starting July 13th, ending on say the 18th. Apply settings. So this is where you can get your scheduled news, and this tells you when they're going to release certain news items. I look for the USD. I look for the red folders here, the red charts, I guess. And I look for the news, CPI. All right, you want to know what that is? Punch up the file folder, it tells you. Bureau of Labor Statistics gives you the Consumer Price Index. These are inflationary numbers. Now, the Fed's main indicator that they like is the PCE, Personal Consumption Expenditures. But there's some high inflationary, um, highly regarded inflationary news items that are going to kind of govern where the market's probably going to go during the day. PC is one, CPI, which is Consumer Price Index, and usually around the same time the next day you also get PPI numbers, Producer Price Index. All right, Producer Price Index. And these are all indicators. In fact, I did a newsletter not too long ago about the difference between some of these. There's some other indicators as well that give us an idea of inflation. Just to name a couple, we have retail sales. Retail sales will also give us information on whether we're into an inflationary period or not, and unemployment claims. All right, generally speaking, if unemployment claims beats the estimate. So here, over here on the right side, We have two columns, the actual and the forecast. Obviously, there's nothing yet in the actual because this schedule has not yet filled, right? But when the actual comes in, and if the actual, for example, unemployment claims, if the actual is greater than the forecast, more people are looking for work, the economy is cooling. It's not as robust. If the unemployment claims is lower than the forecast, then the economy is chugging along very nicely. Thank you very much, which has a positive impact on inflation. In other words, inflation is pushing higher, or the stress is to the upside, which threatens interest rates. And the market does not like high interest rates. So you can generally see that the market is probably, if there's a low, as an example, lower unemployment claims than the forecast, the market will probably go down because it has an adverse effect on inflation. Okay, that's where I get this. So what I'm telling you here is actually really, really interesting, really good. So I did a little bit of a study on that. Let's see, we'll flip over to the next one here. So here's the here are the just the I'm only using these. There are others as well, but I just did a little study on these four or five guys: CPI, PPI, unemployment claims, and retail sales. And again, there are other ones as well. Now, here's the spreadsheet I done. I just went back to the beginning of the year, and I was going to do the whole half year, but I took it up till the end of March, and I picked it up at early June and took it to now, because it was really panning out the way I thought it was going to. So here are the actual numbers versus the forecast numbers. Unemployment claims January the 2nd, they're expecting 222,000. They came in at 211,000. All right. January the 8th, the next week, 201,000 versus the 214,000. So these are lower than expected, which would be inflationary. Okay. So I checked off whether it's inflationary or anti-inflationary. All right. And then over here, CPI came in as expected. So I wrote in here both inflation and anti-inflationary. In other words, neither, because it is as expected. It could go either direction. Okay. And what do we have here? We have retail sales on January the 16th came in at 40%, which is lower than the 60% expected. This would be inflationary as well. And then in January 16th and the 23rd, unemployment claims came in higher than forecast. 217 versus 210,000, 223 versus 221,000. Well, that's anti-inflationary, right? So then what did I do? I thought, well, okay, when the news comes out, and from the news point on, all right, would we have made, if you had bought right then when the news came out, if you had bought right then when the news came up, and the market was going in your direction that way, and you would have bought right then, would you have made 6% on your trade? So if it's inflationary, I'd be buying puts, right? Because I'm expecting the market to go down. If it's anti-inflationary, I expect the market to go up. So I would be buying calls. So I had put an X, actually back then I put a black X on each of these columns based on whether it's inflationary or anti-inflationary. And then I went back on the charts to see where the market went. And as an example, now I didn't know to what extent this went because I didn't want to spend hours and hours and hours just trying to prove a point that I could prove in a shorter period of time, which I did. But I remember seeing the January 2nd one, the inflationary numbers that come out. That day, SPY dropped something like 10 points. So if you'd have been in your puts and stuck with them, you'd have made a fortune. I mean, a fortune. But this is the way. So then, what I did was I went back and I saw the charts, and if the charts proved me correct, I changed the black to a green. And if I was wrong in my assessment, I changed the X from a black to a red. And this is the spreadsheet here. The entire spread. Oh, where did it go? Come on, get back here. Get back. You know. Okay, so you can see there's no red. In other words, okay, so I took it from January through to the end of March. Then I picked it up again June to currently, July the 10th, okay? There's no high impact news for inflation on July the 11th. These were all the days when these reports came out. All right, these are all the days when these reports came out. Uh, if for the days that are missing, those news items were not released. That's why you see the gaps in the dates, because those that there's no high impact inflationary news released those days. But all of the days when unemployment claims, PPI, CPI, retail sales, and PCE, when all of those numbers came out, that's when that's what I did there. Okay, and I should actually go back and put this in PCE as well. Okay, I just want to add this in as well here. Okay, there. Okay, it's just I didn't have PC, but that's in there as well. Um, so you can see that if you were to look at this actual numbers, compare them to the forecast, and from there on, place your trade accordingly. 100% of the time, it had filled. Sometime during the day, sometime during that day. Now, it's not to say that it might not have gone against you at the beginning or for a little bit, but had you just waited to the end of the day, and usually it would have filled a lot sooner than later, you would have been filled for at least 6%, and most of the time, by far, much, much more than 6%. And I think that's an amazing little strategy that you might want to invoke here if you just want kind of a nice, easy strategy based off fundamental analysis. And how many do we have here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 4, 6, 8. We got about 30. What about 30 sample sizes, and 100% of them. So I think that's a pretty good thing. So, all right. So, folks, this is what we do, right? This is what we do, and if you wanna, join our tribe, because you will get a lot of great information like this. This is what you need to do. You have to subscribe to some of our offerings. And now I'm going to tell you what we have because I know that people have been asking, in particular, what is the difference between the Day Trade Spy signal and the pick of the day, which I'm going to get into. So, first of all, the signal. So, if you are like a lot of people, unable to watch the markets all day, might not even be able to get in front of your computer in the morning, but you've got your cell phone and you got your app on your cell phone, which I highly encourage. And there's another reason I encourage you to have your app on your cell phone, which I'll tell you about in a second. You want to get the signal. All right. This is a particular option that is sent to your cell phone 3 to 5 times a week. And as soon as you get it, you'll want to place your trade. It's a particular option. And what you want to do is just immediately buy it, put it up for sale for a 5% profit target, walk away and come back by the end of the day, the profit should be there. If you don't have, and by the way, the people that have taken our courses, they know they can get a lot more than 5%. They know how to ride the market up using our strategies. If you have not yet sold it by the end of the day, sell it at the market close for whatever the market will give you, and it's been working extremely well. Again, I'm pushing 90%, although I think this week you had one, maybe even two losses. I can't remember, but it's been a bit of a struggle. But even with those losses, we're pushing that 90% success rate. So these options that we're sending you, they're not same day expirations, and usually you will not lose that much on those trades because they have lots of time till expiration. So they should never go to like they'll never go to zero, if you know what I'm saying. Okay. So the other reason I want you to make sure that you have your trading platform on your app is simply for a backup in case you're on your computer and your internet goes down or something happens, your computer freezes or something happens. This sort of thing can happen. It's happened to me. It's happened to a lot of people I know where something happens. We're expecting a storm this afternoon here. Well, it never materialized, but I was a little concerned that if this massive storm comes through that we were expecting, that my gosh, we can have internet. As it turned out, it didn't happen. But had that happened, I might not be here right now talking to you. But if you have your app backed up and a backup program on your cell phone, and you're in a trade, you can still execute your exit on your cell phone. So that's another great reason to make sure that you have it. So the day trade spy signal is actually an algo-based trade, and it triggers, like I say, 3 to 5 times a week, usually in the mornings. And you could be going about your day, maybe, take the kids to school or run around, do errands. Suddenly you get your text message on your phone, you pull over, execute your trade, you got yourself 5% that day. Like anything else, use good money management techniques. Pick of the day is a similar system, but a little bit different. This is where we send you a particular option emailed to you at 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time, 5 times a week. Now, if you get the email and it says no trade today, then that means we're protecting your butt, okay? Don't get upset if we don't, and it's very rare that that happens, but every now and then when volatility is screaming through the roof and it's just not a good time to get into the trade at the beginning of the day, it's best to not be in a trade wishing you were than to be in a trade wishing you weren't. That's one of our sayings, okay? This is a hand-picked trade. John, my colleague, John and I, we sit down in the mornings and we discuss and we argue out and we punch each other out. we, we discuss what we see. We look at the fundamentals, we look at the technicals, and what happened with the news, what's coming up with the news. We look at all of the inputs that we see, our Twitter feeds, our X feeds, X formerly Twitter. Don't you hate it when they do that? I'll keep calling it Twitter. You understand what I'm saying. We look at all that stuff and then we make an assessment. Do we buy calls or puts or nothing? And then we send it out at 9 o'clock, goes into your inbox, and this is designed to be bought right at the market open. So this particular trade is anchored in time. What we're saying here is sometime during the day, this option should work and deliver 6%. Usually it does it within a few minutes of the market open. Okay. All right. And we're looking for a 6% gain on this. And we also tell people that even though the powers that be want us to close off the trade at the end of the day, hence sometimes you show a loss. But we tell people in the trading room if we feel that this could be held overnight, because there's ample time in these trades. There's usually ample time in these trades, and you should be fine if you have to hold it overnight. Folks, like all of our programs, you can get them right on our website, but I highly recommend that you simply email customer service at daytradespy.com for pricing, because in all likelihood, you're going to get it for a better price than what you see online. So you want to make sure that you can get it for a better price, right? All right, so that's the pick of the day. Now, it was 16 years ago that I started the Inner Circle. This is actually my first service that we had provided. And people would ask, say, well, you can just let us know on online as to what you're going to look at a trade in the morning. And that's what started with the Inner Circle. You're going to get the morning market assessment sent to you by 9 o'clock Eastern Time. John has been putting this together, a very comprehensive. I always like to be brief when I did mine, but Sean's doing, he's very comprehensive. He gets up bright and early and he gives you all kinds of information. But you know what? It's basically a one-page synopsis of the way he sees the market unfold during the day. Okay. Very comprehensive. And John's a very smart guy. He's been doing this for many years. He's actually a lawyer, but he kind of left law to trade and to teach people how to trade. So that's pretty cool. All right. You're also going to get a follow-up report later in the day as to what we actually did. And in addition, you're going to be invited to our weekly Wednesday night meetups. 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We talk about anything and everything to do with spy trading, option setups, chart patterns, thinkorswim, whatever you want to talk about. These are interactive sessions just like this. And John will address any of your concerns on these Wednesday night meetups. These are, by the way, recorded for later review. And after if you can't make it, it's okay. They are sent to your inbox. You can view these things after the fact. I know that we have a lot of traders and members overseas where 8 a.m. is something like 2 a.m. for them if you're in Europe. And so a lot of people aren't necessarily up at 2 a.m. to watch these live. So they get these things the first thing in the morning when they wake up. They will, watch the webinar from the night before. It's an outstanding way, folks, to get started. And if you're new, or great way to stay in the know if you're a seasoned trader. All right. If you haven't been with us in a while, come on back. It's a great, I don't even know what they charge. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's like $89 a quarter or something, which is nothing, nothing, nothing. Folks, it's actually the most affordable service. If you want to get started as to what we do, this is an excellent, excellent program, right? Again, email customer service at DayTradeSPY. Now, our signature service, our key service is our trading room. All right, this is hosted by yours truly, along with my associate John Johnson, who is an alumni guru from Eagle Financial Products. Um, he's publications. He retired a few months ago from publishing his work, but he couldn't stay retired long. I know that feeling all too well. So they brought him back as my partner, and it's an outstanding session. It goes by fast, very entertaining, even very informative, educational, interactive. I can't tell you enough about it. This is where strategies come alive every morning, 9:20 to 10:30. Learn and earn in this interactive, exciting trading venue. I think you're going to really enjoy it. We teach what we trade, and we trade what we teach. It's all there, folks. No stone left unturned. All right, nothing's off the table here. Get your questions answered live. We've been doing this since 2010. All right, this is the longest running that I know of continuous trading room since 2010, and it's in the 16th year right now. So, God willing and we able, we're going to continue doing it for as long as we can, as long as they want me. And if they don't want me, well, maybe they got John. I will see. Again, email customer service at daytradespy.com. Now, I understand that this service, the trading room, the offer is, and I'm pretty sure it's still there for $6.99 for 3 months, which is an incredible value to have two professional mentors in your back pocket every day. I sure wish I had a Hugh and John when I was learning this stuff, because I would have saved myself an awful lot of money, time, effort, heartache. And I don't know how many of you can afford not to subscribe, but if you're not a subscriber, you want to get in on this. We have a lot of people who actually schedule their day around this. It's not a trading room where we monopolize your day and we hold you ransom in front of your computer all day till 4 o'clock. Not at all. We're done by 10:30. That is the goal. Done by 10:30. Now, admittedly, sometimes we do go a few minutes later, but as a rule, we really do try and finish up right at 10:30. And yeah, and this way, get on with the rest of your day. And that's the objective there, right? That's the objective. So, all right, let's get to some questions, folks. Let me pull up the questions. Okay. All right. Da, da, da. Okay, question from Eric. If 6% is not filled by close, do I cut my losses or continue up to strike date? Do not continue to the strike date. All right, Eric. Um, okay, so your trade should close by, with your 6% profit, but every now and then it does hold overnight. So you have to make the assessment whether you want to hold overnight or cut your losses, all right, by the end of the day. In the trading room, we always discuss this. If we are holding onto those trades, what we're going to do with them, and we'll look at the upcoming news and chart patterns. We'll look at all of that and determine if we're going to hold on to these or cut our losses. For reporting purposes, we have to figure as if we're cutting our losses. But in reality, I could be holding these trades overnight, which I often do, and it fills for 6% and usually much higher the following day. What I like to do is I never want to take it up to expiration because you'll find your theta loss. This is that time decay. It's going to grow on you much faster at an exponential rate the closer you get to expiration. All right. So if you get in, say, Monday or Tuesday, you've got that same week, Friday's expiration, you're going to lose some time value Monday and a little more on Tuesday, a little more on Wednesday. By Thursday, it's ramping up pretty good. You want to be out of that trade probably by Wednesday, Thursday. And if you're holding it by Friday and you're underwater, that stock's got to go way in your direction to get out of it because you're gonna lose. I once had a trader, actually, he never he never subscribed to anything that we had. He's an older gentleman, retired, but he had some retirement funds saved up. I'll never forget it. He was poking at our service and coming on to our Sunday night webinars and kind of, trickling in the information as he could. And he would email me, and I would still try and help him. Excuse me, even though he wasn't a subscriber. I can't remember his name now. Nice gentleman, no, but so he. And I remember once he emailed me. Again, he was not a subscriber, but he emailed me for begging for help. I said, "Okay, where are you? What happened?" He said, and I don't know the numbers now. I forgot the numbers, but he was holding some calls that were going to expire the next day, which was Friday, and I guess he was in pretty heavy. And he asked me, is it possible for these things to come back into profit? And I did the analysis, and I said to him, "Geez, I wish I could remember his name." I said to him, "Well, it's possible, but the way I see it, SPY is going to have to move up 10 points for that to happen. And I don't see anything in the news that's going to be the catalyst for that to happen. So if it was me, I would cut my losses as soon as possible. Even though even if you only get a dime on these options, at least you're going to walk away with something. You're not going to lose it all." Anyway, he thanked me, and then I heard from his wife. His wife emailed me saying that her husband was in the hospital, and I didn't quite understand or find out what he had. I don't know if it was a stroke, a heart attack, or just anxiety or something. But he lived, and he did thank me for my responses and my assessment later on. But it really kind of struck me. Really kind of struck me because I felt so bad for him because I knew that this is not going to end well for him. And if he put a lot of his retirement money, I don't remember what he did for a living. I thought he was a teacher, maybe not, but but it sounded like he put a lot of money into that. And to lose that kind of money when you're in I think he was in his 80s or something, that was very heartbreaking for me to hear that. Because I know, how hard he must have worked to save that money, and now, he's lost. I don't know how much he lost, but I think it was a significant sum. So this is not a game you want to toy with, okay? You should never invest more than you can afford to lose. I know it sounds ironic because we're here to make money and stuff, but proper money management is so very important. It is not important. It's everything. It's vital. It's your lifeblood. And options is not, it's a high risk trade. Even though there's a lot of money to be made, yes, you can make a lot of money. That's why you have the leverage, but that same that same characteristic that can make you a lot of money can also have you lose a lot of money. And there's some real horror stories, in fact. In fact, I've got an ebook. It's called Triumphs and Tragedies. I don't think you can buy it or anything, but it's something that we give away, and we're going to have a contest in a minute here, and we'll give away that ebook, Triumphs and Tragedies. That's what I'm going to give away. A lot of stories in that, true stories of people that had come through my service over the years, and people that I talked to and helped and whatnot. And there's some great stories, but there's also some real heartbreaking, heart-wrenching stories of some massive losses. This is not a it's not a game, okay? And I don't like it when people refer to trades like a play, like a gambling thing. Well, it was a good play. Well, it's not a play; it's a trade. Play is when you go to the casino and you put your cards out or you pull the handle on your slot machine or something. Um, okay. All right, let's get some more questions here. I only trade your day trade spy trading recommendation. Just want to know when to enter and exit. Okay, Bentley. So as soon as you get the signal, you enter right away. And look at the 1 minute chart if you can. If it's going your direction, enter then. If it's going against you, wait until it turns around and then get in. All right, no sense in getting into it when it's going against you, because why would you do that? Wait until you get a better entry price. All right. If it's the pick of the day, you want to get it at the beginning of the day in the first couple of minutes, hopefully. If it's going against you, it might even be 5, maybe even 10 minutes if it's going against you. But wait till the pressure goes back against in your favor, then get in. How to exit the trade, put it up for sale for your profit target. Say for the signal, say 5% or 6% for the pick of the day or whatever. Now, if you are tracking it on the charts and you understand what we're doing, track it along and ride it up. Make more than 5% or 6%, right? We only have those targets set up as a marker that uh, determines whether you're successful or not. Okay. And a lot of people are making a lot more than 5 or 6%. Okay, that's the thing here. Okay, let's go back into some of these questions here. Okay. All right. San Diego. San Diego is one of the gentlemen on our trading room. He said, "Hola, hola. I don't. Where are you from, San Diego? Anyway, where are you from? Yeah, you from Mexico or something, somewhere South America or something?" He says, "I get greedy all the time, but I found that the bigger the trade, the less greedier I get." LOL. Right now, I'm carrying 62 July 25th, 624 calls, and 626 calls, 18 of those. You guys are doing great. All right, so that's kind of interesting. So the more you invest, the more contracts you buy, the less you have to make your profit. So let's say I want to make $200 a day, right? And I have 10 contracts, excluding commission. If I want to make my $200 just on that trade, I have to have those options, assuming calls, I have to have the calls go up 20 cents. Now, if I have a delta of 50, that means the stock has to go up about 40 cents. Okay. And usually it'll happen. That's not a problem. But let's say instead of 10 contracts, I have, say, 30 contracts or 35 contracts. Well, I can generally bring my 20 cents down to 6 cents to make my same 200 trade, $200. And it's a lot easier to make 6 cents than it is to make 20 cents on an options trade. I haven't done the math, but I can assure you that I get probably, I don't know, I want to say 4 or 5 trades for 6 cents in to one trade that gives you 20 cents. So that's kind of a nice strategy you might want to consider. Go in heavy and take a smaller percent, a small, not a percent, but a smaller gain, cents wise. It's part of our scalping strategy. So, but don't get greedy. Don't get greedy because when you get greedy, you lose it, right? All right. Alexander's got it. How about learning options in school? That's a question that comes up once in a while here. I can't believe it's almost 9 o'clock. I didn't want to keep you all night here, but some good questions coming in today. Here's a question. Why don't they teach options in school? So I'm not aware that they do. I know that when I went to university, they never, we never learned that. We knew that they existed, but not like as a trading uh, uh, option. But I'm suspecting that the people that know how to teach it don't waste their time teaching because they're just doing it, right? They're trading. Why would I, for example, myself, if I was approached by a school, college, to come in and teach kids to as a during the day that how to trade options, I'm sorry, I don't think you can afford me. I don't mean it in a conceited way, but I make more money trading than I do teaching. So why would I waste my time and have to deal with all that administrative work and tests and marking tests and dealing with students and all their million questions and stuff when I can just teach this online and trade and have the rest of the day myself? I like to get in, make my money in the morning, finish up by 10:30, 11 o'clock, get on with the rest of my day. And that's what I like to do. So all right, right. Do you use any of the Eagle newsletters or services to give you insight into what is happening in the markets? So here's the question here. Do you use any of Eagle's newsletters and services to give you any insight into what's happening in the markets? All right, so this is going to sound horrible. I'm sure I'm going to get wrapped on the knuckles for it, but um, I don't follow anybody. I don't follow anybody. Nobody. I don't follow. Other people follow us. And here's the thing, it doesn't matter where the market's going to go. You see, here's what I think is going to happen, and this is going to be addressed in my newsletter this week. If Trump fires Powell, I think you can expect the market to drop because I think the dollar will drop probably several points because the world will feel that the Fed Reserve is losing its independence and that the U.S. is becoming more unreliable. Would that be the word for it? A little more, just can't count on things here. So a lot of wishy-washiness going on. So I think the market would probably drop and could drop quite a bit if Trump fires Powell. And I think Trump knows that. He doesn't want to fire Powell. He even said he's not going to fire him, but he's calling all kinds of names. Uh, I just, it's actually unbelievable what's going on. I just can't believe it. Trump recently here called Powell, claiming Jerome Powell has a low IQ. He says that he's an average mentally person. An average, he is, this is his words, not mine. He's an average mentally person, low IQ for what he does. I think he's a very stupid person, actually. Uh, anyway, I don't want to get into that. Whether you think Powell is good or bad, I don't, it depends on your perspective, and I don't want to get into that. I mean, I don't know enough to comment on that, but anyway. Um, All right. No April and May. No, so in that analysis that I showed you for those fundamentals, the inflation numbers, yeah, I just when I saw that, January, February, March, the end of March, that things were going, I just jumped right to, right to June. That's why I didn't do that. Okay. But I'm sure if I had taken the time to analyze all that, I'm sure I would have probably again had the same results. So. All right, you're gonna keep on making actual trades? Of course, I'm making actual trades. Yes. Um, okay. Oh, not yet. Okay, I'm still going for the questions here. Do you have any advice as to having a bias for the day trading range of the day? Frank, so I have a bias. My bias, believe it or not, is to the upside all the time. So when the market drop now, that's not to say I don't buy puts, but when I go back into my log, and I'm sure you're all keeping logs, right? I noticed that most of my challenges, 90% of my challenges were with puts. I like to trade calls. It's just a natural tendency to trade calls. So, okay. So here's a question concerning the pick of the day. Let's say by 9:29, if the market dramatically changes since 9 a.m., would you advise the members then trading to abort the pick of the day alert? No. So when we do the pick of the day alert, we do that before 9 o'clock. John, and we look at longer term trends. Okay, so you may actually get a bit of reversal when the market opens. Don't worry about it. We stick when we send out the pick of the day, that is a commitment, and we believe in it. We are committed to it. So, all right, all right, okay. Just kind of quickly go through some of these questions again. I don't want to keep you here tonight. Okay, Matt says that option derivatives taught through capital market courses. Okay, I can see that. I don't know whether they teach trading it the way we do. I'm not aware of anybody who trades it. Um, Howard says universities could afford you with all the money they have in their endowments, but I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. Tie up my time teaching in schools. I like what I'm doing here. Okay. All right. Okay. So here's a comment here. Powell gets fired, interest rates will go down, and that's going to boost the economy. Um, Okay, so that's an interesting question, and I have an opinion on who is jockeying for position. Now, it's just my opinion, nothing to base it on other than this one piece of information I'm going to give you. Fed President Michelle Bowman, for the longest time, has been very hawkish. In fact, she was the number one hawk. She would always vote for hawkishness. Now, when I look at the cheat sheet, I see I think she's the number one dove. So hawks like to keep interest rates high. Doves want to push interest rates down. I'm just saying, is she jockeying for position to be the next Fed chair? I don't know. I don't know. But just judging by the shift from the number one hawk to the number one dove, I'm kind of sensing that maybe she wants to be noticed to be the thing. Now, interest rates go down. I think, okay, so I think in the immediate If Powell gets fired, the immediate reaction will be a drop in the market. Longer term, if interest rates go down, we'll see the effects of that. But I think inflation is going to go up, and it's going to. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. It depends on which one's going to be the most powerful force: interest rates or inflation. All right. Okay. The success rate for the pick of the day is also pushing 90%. Both the pick of the day and the the day trade spy signal is pushing 90% success rate. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to pick a number from 1 to 100 and put it in the questions box because I am going to pull up our number generator. I can just find it. Okay, here it is right here. Oh, okay, where did I go? Okay, here it is right here. Now I have to bring it over to the other screen. Okay. Ignore this number. This is not the number I'm looking for. That 46. I have to spin the generator. Okay. I have to spin the generator. All right. Okay. Ignore this 46. That's not what it is. Give me a number 1 to 100. The person closest to the number that we're going to generate will win with the ebook Triumphs and Tragedies. Okay. Triumphs and Tragedies. It's actually pretty long ebook. Let me see how long it is. Triumphs and Tragedies, the 2025 version. This is it here. Triumphs and Tragedies. It goes on for 42 pages. Okay, this is it here. 42 pages. Each page, pretty well. Well, we've got some that have multiple pages, but we've got all kinds of really cool stories in here, okay? And this goes back years, but it goes down. Where is it here? I can just spin this down all the way down here. There's even a story about me in here. I couldn't resist. And it's not a triumph either. It's a tragedy. You're gonna like it. Daryl, I love that one. I wonder if it Daryl. I gotta find this guy, find out what happened to him. This is a great one here. They actually Daryl, this is a real quick story here. Daryl, his wife Pam, and Duncan, a business partner, they took the money they made from what they learned in Day Trade Spy, and they went to was it Haiti? I think they went to Haiti or where did they go? To Guatemala back in the hurricane days, and they built a school. They built a school for the orphaned kids, and they built a school, and they're teaching the kids. And one of the things they did was they actually they created a music room, and they call it the Hugh Grossman Music Room, an appreciation of Day Trade Spy. Here it is right here, making this all possible for changing lives all over the world. This is it's pretty incredible stuff. It brought tears to my eyes, I gotta tell you. I love this one here. Let me see if my buddy Chris S is online here. Cool guy here. He flies these private jets, and I remember he actually brought up his jet from Texas to Buffalo to take me out for dinner. I couldn't believe it. All right. Oh, thank you for that. And every now and then I still hear from him whenever he's flying by. I'll take a screenshot of his GPS. Anyway, this is the ebook that you are going to get. All right, we got all the numbers in, folks. Now we're going to generate the number here. Let me see if I can just hit the button, if I can find the right button. All right, the number is 44. All right, the number is 44. So let's take a look at who is the closest to 44. Let's see, Alexander OM is at 35. 35. Oh, Robert M is at 43. Okay, I better write this one here. Robert X. Okay, he's at 43. Now, if it's a tie, all right, then so is Louise. You both get it. All right, you'll both get it. All right, Louise and Robert M got 43. Okay. Let me see. Did anybody else get closer? Okay. Let's see. No, it looks like still scrolling through here. Robert T. King, not too bad at 42. Okay, we have two winners, Robert M. and Louise H. and you guys are going to be sent the ebook, Triumphs and Tragedies. All right, folks. I think with that, we're going to call it a day here. We're going to call it wrap it up. It is being recorded, and what we're going to do is post the recording on the website. Hopefully the next day or two should be on there. Don't forget, folks, if you want what I have, you got to do what I do. Been a pleasure. If you want to stand by, you can subscribe to our world-famous Day Trade Spy trading room. Have a good night, everybody.
You're the one, shine brighter than the moon and the sun. Be great at what you do, give it all of you, and trust the process and keep your eyes on the prize. I can tell you what I'm seeing, you can